I'm going to start off with a quote, another one by Ernest Holmes, and there's a reason for this. In studying the order of man's evolution, it seems certain that it was necessary from the time that he was brought to a point of self-choice that he be left alone to discover his true nature. If man is endowed with the attribution of self-choice and free will, he must be allowed to make this great discovery for himself. And so last week and on Sunday, if you're kind of hopping back and forth from Celebrate to Elevate, what I mentioned was that traditionally in January, there are New Thought centers around the world, specifically centers for spiritual living, who go back to basics. And they take the Science of Mind, which is this big fat book by Ernest Holmes that has over 600 pages, but really it's the first 60 of the introduction that have the crux of the philosophy in here. And they go to that introduction and those first 60 pages, and each week they offer one of the little bits of the introduction. And so last week we talked about the thing itself. The thing, whatever you call it, whether it is God, spirit, source, universe, the quantum field, love, creativity, doesn't really matter, but there's this thing. There's this thing that exists. It's the essence, it's the foundation, it is the inception of everyone and everything. And so this week we're moving into the way it works, because there's this thing and we're all it. But how is it that we are this thing? And how is it that it experiences itself or fulfills itself or changes and morphs and transforms from just this potentiality to what's happening right here in this room? So who here has heard a story? I've seen it on Facebook a few times over the past several years about spilling your coffee. You have a cup of coffee in your hand, you're walking around, you're on the subway or whatever, someone bumps into you and your coffee spills, on the sidewalk on yourself. Oh my God, right? Why did you spill your coffee? Anyone? Because someone bumped into you? No, you spilled your coffee because coffee is what you had in your cup. And so this is an interesting metaphor for life. And this is a great little story, great little anecdote to use in how the way it works, which is what this week's theme is. And the way it works is all about this particular aspect of consciousness, of God, of universal mind, of spirit, of source, whatever you want to call it. And this is the part that is the thing that is the filter. This is the area of mind where all of the thoughts, all of the beliefs, all of the memories of all time exist. So it's not like we can sort of stop thinking something and it disappears. It just means that we're not focusing on that anymore. We're placing our attention on something else. And so this is also why we can feel like we've worked on stuff. We have read the books, we have taken the workshops, we have done the classes and the seminars, and we have our spiritual practice in place and whatever it is that we're doing. And still, this again, it's because all of that exists in this incredible, amazing sea of subjectivity. And so our work is to get crystal clear on a clear day about who and what we are and what it is that we're focusing on in this sea of subjectivity, because whatever we impress through this sea, that ends up filtering through this incredible thing and then showing up in our life experience. And so with this coffee cup story, that's kind of like what happens, right? We have coffee in our cup, and so it's not like a milkshake is going to fall out if life or someone bumps into us, right? So we need to get clear on what it is that we're holding in our cup. So my talk title today is, What's in Your Cup? And so this is a cup of coffee, and I looked for so many pictures to find a really, really good picture. And what I had in mind was not what this ended up being. But what I really appreciate about this is there's still coffee in this cup, but you can see all the different patterns around this coffee cup and how what you have in your cup, and this is a metaphor for what is it that's going on in your subjective mind, how it impacts and affects everyone and everything around you. Okay? So your coffee is not just about you. Your coffee spills over onto everyone and everything around you. And a lot of times, we're not even aware of what it is that's spilling onto everyone and everything around us. So another quote by Ernest Holmes: "Any of nature's forces must have existed always, but so far as man is concerned, they exist to be used only after he has discovered them and learned how to make use of them. All natural laws have always existed, but only when understood may they be used." And then I added the word consciously, because the thing about this law is that it is always, always, always in action. It is always taking place. It is always at work, whether we're aware of it or not. And so it doesn't matter if we know about it or we don't. It doesn't matter if we're ignorant of it. It is always in and at play. So if we want to learn to work in harmony with this law, if we want to be in alignment, if we want to get clearer on what it is that we are demonstrating and manifesting because of all of this stuff that is happening in this sea of subjectivity and this automatic reflector of what we impress into it, then we need to know that this is what's happening. Because if we don't know that that's happening, if we aren't aware of it, then how can we change? Right? So I added the word consciously in there, which is, I'm sure, what he meant, but I'm like, that word's missing, and it's really, really important. So what's in your cup? So are we aware? Are we aware of what it is that we have in our cup, our mug, whatever our vessel is? Are we aware, or are we just drinking it and spilling it out onto everyone and everything around us without really noticing or knowing how this stuff in our cup is impacting everyone? What kind of thoughts are we thinking? What kind of beliefs are we entertaining? What kind of choices are we making? What are the action steps that we're taking? Because when stuff happens, when someone says something, when someone does something, when the weather happens, when an accident happens, when the California fires are burning and decimating everything in their path, what is it that is in our cup that is spilling out into the world? Because it's not the external stuff that is making things happen. It's the stuff in our cup that is creating our life experience. And so we got to get clear on what's in our cup. On Saturday, I'm looking around the room, and I don't think anyone was here. Who was here on Saturday for the very first Four Agreements book study session? Nobody. I know some people here signed up. Anyway, there are 4 more Saturdays left. Glenn Sheridan over there, my husband, my beloved, and our tech and sound guy for Celebrate and Elevate, he is facilitating this incredible, amazing book study. And the first session was fantastic. There were 17 people here. Some people had read the book, some hadn't. And there was this amazing discussion on the first chapter, a little bit of the first chapter, and it was all about the word. Because the first agreement is, be impeccable with your word. So the conversation was around, what is the word? What is your word? And Don Miguel Ruiz writes about what the word is, but it was really interesting to have this discussion because there were different aspects of the word that came up. There was the individual word, there was the universal word, there was words as language, and then there was word as consciousness, as knowingness, as intention, as affirmative prayer. There were lots of different things that were offered. And so what was really neat is people, through this discussion, were getting really clear on what the word is. And so in spiritual mind treatment, which is the form of affirmative prayer that we practice when we study the science of mind philosophy, at the very end, we say, I release my word as law. Not into the law, saying that there's something separate, but as law. The one and only law that makes things happen, that reflects whatever it is that we impress through it, that shows up as our life experience. And our word is our intention. Our word is our affirmation. Our word is consciousness expressing itself into this incredible, amazing demonstration and manifestation that is our life experience. And so we want to get impeccable with our word. We want to get crystal clear. We want there to be no confusion whatsoever. That's what impeccability is all about. And we want to be impeccable with what it is that we have in our cup. So in the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz writes, the word is a force. It is the power you have to express and communicate, to think, and thereby to create the events of your life. Okay? This is totally in line with New Thought. We create our reality. Nobody else. No one is living our life for us. No one is making choices for us. Sometimes it may feel like maybe we don't have a choice, but there is always, always, always something that we are choosing at any given moment, whether we're aware of it or we're not. Okay? Personal responsibility. That's one of the key things about New Thought. He also writes, the human mind is like a fertile ground where seeds are continually being planted. The seeds are opinions, ideas, and concepts. You plant a seed, a thought, and it grows. The only problem is that too often it is fertile for the seeds of fear. Every human mind is fertile, but only for those kinds of seeds it is prepared for. So this speaks to the consciousness as in small c, like awareness. Okay, are you aware of the seeds that you're planting? Are you aware of the seeds that are germinating in your sea of subjectivity? Every human mind is fertile, but only for those kinds of seeds it is prepared for. What is important is to see which kinds of seeds our mind is fertile for and to prepare it to receive the seeds of love. So again, we want to get super clear on what it is we have in our cup. Because if and when it spills out into the world, and it does, because we do not live in a vacuum, we do not live in an island, and even, well, we do live on an island, but even though we are creating our life experience, we are not alone in this experience. We are all creating, and then we all have these agreements and these collective experiences that we share. And so we want to be aware of what it is that we have in our cup, what it is that we're focusing on in the sea of subjectivity, how this law is working for us. You know, is it life affirming or is it keeping us feeling small? Because it doesn't discern. It doesn't go, hey, you know what? I think you should change your mind about these ideas and these dreams that you have because I think there's something better for you. It just automatically reflects whatever it is that goes into it. So if that automatic reflection that is like purely mechanical, if we want that to work for us, A, we got to be aware that this is what's happening, and then B, we want to put something so good, so amazing, so life-affirming in there that there's no way that anything different could show up as our life experience. That's how clear we need to be. So personal responsibility is about knowing and being impeccable with what is in your cup. It is about consciously choosing to fill it with things that support you in living your best life for yourself and those around you and our world, right? It's about the intangible stuff, the stuff that you can't see, like thoughts, feelings, beliefs, choices, even actions. And it's about the tangible stuff. The people, the relationships, the communities that we surround ourselves and immerse ourselves in. So if we go back to our affirmation for the month, love is all there is, consciousness is everything. If at any time we find ourselves confused, if at any time we find ourselves floundering, if at any time we find ourselves in some kind of negative state, where life isn't working the way that we would prefer, and then we find ourselves in fear or anger or isolation or whatever it is, we can turn to that kind of affirmation. Love is all there is. Consciousness is everything. And just fill our cup with that again and again and again and again until the only thing that can show up in our life is more love. Is more amazing awesomeness, because that's who and what we truly are. That is our inherent nature. So the more impeccable you are with your word, the more conscious you are of what's in your cup, and the more aware you are of what you are spilling out into the world, right? So my question to you is, What's in your cup? Is it something that you want to spill out into the world? And if not, then guess what? Every single moment is a brand spanking new opportunity to choose something new, to choose something different, to heal, to grow, to expand, to connect more fully with and as who and what you are, who and what everyone and everything is, that one incredible, amazing thing that is going on, the essence, the foundation, the beingness of everyone and everything. Thank you, and so it is.